In this video, we are going to discuss about DIC or disseminated intravascular coagulation. It is a situation in which the process of hemostasis, which is when after the blood vessel wall injury, blood rapidly becomes a gel or clotting starts to run out of control. When this happens, lot of blood clots starts to form in the blood vessels, serving various organs, leading to organ ischemia. The DIC though also called consumption coagulopathy because all this clotting consumes platelet and clotting factors. Without enough platelets circulating in the blood, other parts of body starts to bleed out with even a slightest damage on blood vessel wall. So paradoxically, patient have too much and too little clotting. Normally, after a damage to endothelium or inner lining of blood vessel wall, there is an immediate vasoconstriction or narrowing of the blood vessel, which limits the amount of blood flow. After that, some platelet adhere to the damaged blood wall and become activated. After activation, they recruit additional platelet to form a plug. The formation of platelet plug is called primary hemostasis. After that, the coagulation cascade is activated. First off in blood is a set of clotting factor, most of which are proteins, which are generally synthesized by the liver, and usually these are inactive and just moving in the blood. The coagulation cascade starts when one of these proteins proteolytically cleaved and activates the next clotting factor, and so on. This cascade has a huge degree of amplification and takes only a few minutes from injury to the clot formation. And the last step is activation of protein fibrinogen to fibrin, which deposits in polymerizes to form a mesh on that platelet clot. So these steps leading fibrin reinforcement and platelet plug make up the process called secondary hemostasis, results in a hard clot at the site of injury. Now as soon as that clot forms, the body also initiates the pathway to break down that clot so it doesn't get bigger than it needs to be through a process called fibrinolysis. The process form fibrin degradation products as well. Normally the formation of new clots and process of fibrinolysis are in a steady balance. Now have a look on it. In some serious medical conditions such as sepsis, malignancy, serious trauma, obstetric complications, there can be a release of procoagulant that tips the scale in the favor of clot formation. Procoagulants can be proteins like tissue factors or bacterial components like lipopolysaccharides or even some enzymes as well, which further activate the clotting factor. In response, the coagulation pathway overdrive, resulting in widespread clot formation in blood vessels, resulting in ischemia, necrosis or organ damage as well. Some organs such as kidney, liver, lungs and brains are more susceptible to this condition. The massive formation of clot throughout the body depletes the supply of platelet and clotting factors. To make things worse, as those broken down by fibrinolysis, fibrin degradation products are released in circulation and interfere with platelet aggregation and clot formation. On one side you have the thrombosis, and at the same time you have trouble forming new clots, which leads to bleeding. Now moving onwards, the diagnostic evaluation or lab findings are: first one is decreased platelet and decreased fibrinogen protein, and prolonged prothrombin time, that is PT, and prolonged partial thromboplastin time, that is PTT. These two reflect the low circulating coagulation factors in the blood sample. And next is increased D-dimer, and D-dimer is nothing but the fibrin degradation product which release in the blood after fibrinolysis. In some chronic DIC condition, example solid tumors and large aortic aneurysm, it can compensate and results normal in the patient. The treatment modalities is mainly focusing on underlying causes, and the first is supportive various organs through ventilatory support, hemodynamic support.